Young lion Marcus was brutally surrounded and nearly broken by a pack of hyenas after venturing out alone to prove himself. Their leader, Scar, twisted by old grudges and defeat, didn't want a quick kill, she wanted to make him suffer. But Marcus had a brother, David, and what he brought wasn't just strength, it was unstoppable fury born of loyalty. And just wait until you see how this battle turned in the most shocking way, and why, in the end, justice didn't just return, it roared. The sun hung low over the savannah, turning the horizon gold and copper. Tall grass swayed under the wind like waves on a quiet ocean. The air was heavy, silent, too silent. A silence that didn't belong. Marcus, a young lion on the edge of adulthood, moved through the open plains with cautious pride. He wasn't supposed to be here alone. His older brother David, the leader of their small but strong coalition, had warned him, "Never hunt alone in the east, too many shadows there." But Marcus was tired of warnings. He wanted to prove himself, not just to David, but to the world. He wanted to show that he was no longer just the cub. Then he caught it, the scent. Thick, sharp, blood, instinct took over. Rah. He lowered his body, stepped forward slowly. There, near a dry riverbed, lay the carcass of a young buffalo. Fresh, barely touched. A gift? Or bait? He should have turned back. But pride leaned louder than caution. As Marcus approached, shapes began to shift around the kill. Not the rustle of the wind, but breathing, watching. 8 hyenas emerged from the tall grass like shadows rising from the earth. Eyes glowing, teeth bared. They moved in silence, surrounding him. At the center stood one larger than the rest. Her face was scarred, her left ear torn, one eye gone entirely, a hollow darkness where vision once was. Scar. Not just a name, but a memory of battles lost and grudges held. Years ago, she'd ruled the Northern Territory, until David and his brothers drove her out, humiliated, beaten. She hadn't forgotten the scent of the lions who took everything from her. And now she had one of them alone. Marcus lowered his stance and let out a roar, defiant and raw. He lunged at the nearest hyena, claws flashing. But every move was answered. Teeth snapped at his legs. One struck from behind, another darted in and veered away, testing him. They weren't trying to end the fight. They were drawing it out. Scar didn't move at first. She watched, measured, let her pack wear him down. When she finally stepped forward, it wasn't with rage. It was with something colder. Marcus fought like a lion should, brave, relentless. But the ground turned against him. The circle closed. The numbers were too many. His muscles burned. His breath came in bursts. Blood darkened the grass. And still he stood, until he couldn't. His legs gave out. He hit the earth hard, sides heaving. His eyes flicked from one shadow to another, then up, searching the trees at the edge of the clearing, looking for anything, anyone. And then a sound. Not from the hyenas. It came low and thunderous, a roar that rolled across the savannah like a storm breaking. David had found him. David wasn't just a leader. He was the kind of lion stories are told about, the kind whose silence held more power than roars, whose every scar told of battles not just fought, but survived. And when he came crashing through the trees and saw Marcus, his brother, barely conscious, being dragged like prey through the dust, something ancient stirred inside him. Something old, something sacred, the bond of blood. Scar turned her head, her eye locking with his. Her twisted smile came slowly, as if this was the reunion she'd waited years for. "Too late, old friend," her gaze seemed to say, but David didn't give her time to gloat. He moved, not a charge, a force, a thunderclap. His roar split the sky, startling birds from the treetops. The ground trembled beneath his weight as he tore through the circle. One hyena went flying into the bushes, yelping in shock. Another was knocked flat as David collided with it, full force, not stopping for even a heartbeat. The hyenas snapped, clawed, swarmed, but they had never faced this version of him. Not the leader, not the hunter, but the brother. Every move David made was controlled, deliberate. This wasn't rage out of chaos. It was rage with purpose. His muscles coiled and struck like whips. He was everywhere, a whirlwind of power between Marcus and danger. Scar finally lunged. She came in low and fast, aiming high, trying to end it quickly. But David had seen her moves before. He turned, faster than expected, sidestepped, and clamped his jaws onto her shoulder with staggering force. The momentum flipped her onto the ground, and for a breathless second, all sound fell away, except the rustle of grass and the thunder of her fall. They struggled. Dust rose. Paws struck. But David never lost control. This wasn't revenge. It was reckoning. The pack broke. One by one, the hyenas retreated into the grass, not daring to face the storm he had become. Only Scar remained, pinned beneath him, gasping, stunned not just by pain but by the power of what she had awakened. David stood tall over her, chest heaving, eyes burning. He didn't finish her. He didn't need to. Instead, he let the weight of his presence do what no claw could. He made her remember who he was. Then, with one final roar, not of hate, but of warning, he stepped back. Scar limped into the trees, not victorious, not proud, but broken. The fight she thought she had won had never truly begun. And David? He didn't chase her. He turned to Marcus, because this fight was never about revenge. It was about family, and family had been reclaimed. The sky had darkened into deep twilight by the time the clearing fell silent. The wind had stilled. The hyenas were gone. But David stood motionless, his sides rising and falling, chest still heavy with the fire of what had just passed. Then he turned. Marcus was lying in the same spot where he had fallen, a quiet shape against the earth, his mane tangled, his body broken but not defeated. His breath was shallow, but it was there. He blinked slowly as if waking from a nightmare that still hadn't let go. David approached without a sound. No roar, no pride, just presence. He knelt beside his brother and, with the gentleness of a lion who had seen too much, nudged Marcus's head with his own. He licked the dust and blood from Marcus's face, not to erase the pain, that would take time, but to remind him, you're not alone. Marcus didn't speak. He couldn't, but his eyes told the story. There was fear in them, yes, but there was something else, too. Recognition, gratitude, trust. And so David stayed. That night, while the stars turned slowly above them and the moon lit the grass in silver light, David stood over his brother like a guardian carved from stone. The predators of the night called in the distance, jackals, owls, faraway roars. But none came near. They knew better. David didn't sleep, not until the first light touched the horizon. In the days that followed, Marcus began to heal. It was slow. Every step came with effort. The wounds were deep, the limp permanent. But he moved, and with every sunrise he regained not just his strength, but something deeper, a sense of understanding. He had set out to prove his strength. But what saved him in the end wasn't strength. It was love, fierce, relentless, silent but unbreakable. He had learned the truth that only the savannah teaches, that lions may roar alone, but they survive together. And in David's protection, Marcus found something greater than pride. He found purpose. As for Scar, she was never seen again in that part of the land. Whether she had fled to the far reaches of the wild, or faded into the shadows she once ruled, no lion cared to find out. But the memory of what happened that night left a mark. It wasn't written in blood or in battles. It lived in the stories whispered across the grasslands, in the way the other lions looked at David, in the way Marcus walked, slower now, wiser, but always one step behind his brother. The land remembers what it witnesses. The wind carries the truth. And the bond between lions, born in fire, sealed in loyalty, never truly fades. Because in the end, it wasn't the roar that saved Marcus. It was the silence that came after, the silence of a brother who never walked away.